I've been speaking for almost 2 hours. You're tired of me by now. I, however, am not tired of you, so if you have any questions after all that, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, General.
Sure, Tim.
The diocese put out a lengthy statement, just as this was getting going. You've already addressed some of it.
Yep.
You say this is all historical, looking in the past, all that. But I do want you to respond to one specific thing. One of the things they point out is the 4 priests your office brought criminally charged were not as a result of your investigation for this report, but because they reported them to you, and that shows that the diocese has turned a page. First of all, do they have that right?
Yeah.
And if so, is that evidence that they have turned a page?
Yeah, look, I think the very nature of that question shows that the diocese isn't yet ready to own what they've done here. They can go through this report and pull out things that they take credit for, and we've tried to give them credit where they deserve it. I can't tell you as I sit here, Tim, whether they handed us a case fully made. Steve, did that happen?
It did not.
Thanks. So, if he tells me it didn't happen, then it didn't happen. That's all I need to know. We can follow up on that with details. If they want to go through a 274-page report and give themselves a pat on the back, go ahead. But the notion that this is history, the notion that they own it, the notion that they care about victims is belied by that very statement. And until the diocese gets it, it's all the more reason why this legislation has to pass, because it's pretty clear that they're not going to recognize survivors on their own. They're going to be pulled, kicking and screaming, into owning it. So bring on, out of 275 pages of narrative and 275 pages of history and appendices about priests, okay? I would love to them to go find Bishop Tobin, certainly they can talk to him, and have them, through him, square how allegations of child sexual abuse can be repugnant, and at the same time, the priest had an exemplary career. Square those words. That's my message to the diocese. Start there. Yes, Catherine?
I've got 3 questions, and one starts with the same
Okay.
statement. that
Don't
Tim-
assume I'm going to remember them all, so let's take them seriatim.
One at a time.
Yes.
I'm just begging for some
Yes.
time here. The other thing they say is, the report does not have the force of law, but rather offers untested perspectives in boldface of the Attorney General, the bulk of which focus on historical cases of abuse in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, look, I think I've sort of responded to it preemptively by going through the report and the level of detail that I have. I mean, again, the diocese, for whatever reason, unlike other dioceses around the country, here, I hope it's not in the Rhode Island water, because I am a native, as you know, they just can't seem to accept responsibility for what they have done and make it right. Whether it's historical or not, they have an obligation to make it right. Think of slavery, for example. Think of the Rhode Island families that were responsible for slavery. Some of those families have tried to make it right in recent years. The Episcopal diocese, by comparison, many Episcopalians were involved in the slave trade. The Diocese of Rhode Island, under Bishop Nicely, has tried to make amends and accepted responsibility for their role in the slave trade. Okay? I'm not trying to compare apples and oranges here. Yet, I think the principle is the same. This is the diocese and its forebears. And it's not all decades ago, as we've seen. They need to own it. They need to fix it. They need to accept responsibility. They need to apologize. And I don't hear that in their words. They resisted us. I mean, we had to push back to get the documents. They didn't make their witnesses available to us. That's not owning it. I believe we've been fair in this report. We used their documents. It's why we used the documents themselves. I feel really comfortable about what we've done here. One thing that these reports, as I've learned, they don't make people happy. Which is why people don't want us to do them, right? People don't want us to do reports about ILO. They don't want us to do reports about the diocese. They don't want us to do these reports because they expose to the public our view of what happened. If you want to write your own report, go write it. Rebut us in writing. I'll await it, or my successor will. Next question, Kathy. I only have 3.
Okay. This is the short one, I think, 2 or 3. You mentioned that the diocese withheld documents they deemed privileged.
Mm-hmm.
What in all of these documents did they label privileged?
You know, Kathy, I don't know. Did they give us a privilege log? They did.
Yeah.
So the way this typically works is, in litigation of this, or potential litigation of this scope, is first of all you number all your documents. You can go back and find them, but you it's called Bates numbering. But you also produce a privilege log, and you know, look. There's really, in this context, without a grand jury, there's no court forum to really fight that battle out. But the documents that we did receive tell the story, and so I'm comfortable that the story has been told. Could we have exposed potentially more things, more priests, more diocesan response? Maybe, but the report's long and it's detailed, and I think it tells the story here, the essential story.
Third question. When Representative McEntee's bill passed the House last year, when it's come up in past years, and it contained a revival window for cases that are currently time barred, the Senate has consistently expressed concern about the legislation being illegal, unconstitutional, and they've seized on a few decisions, perhaps in other states,
Yeah.
maybe Maine. Catherine Robb would know that better than I.
Hi, Catherine.
And I guess my question for you is, what is your response to the Senate that has not wanted to touch this legislation because they believe it's unconstitutional?
Well, that's not the view we've taken, and we've supported it consistently and told the Senate that. And, you know, they'll have to make their decision this time around whether or not they're going to take that legislation up. I have tremendous respect for the Senate, tremendous respect for them, leadership, and we'll see where this takes us this year. I'm hopeful, but it will be up to the champions of the bill in the Senate to get it over the finish line. But we're prepared to defend the bill if it's attacked as unconstitutional. Yeah. I mean, look, you know, if you think about it, certain dioceses are not relying on legislation to make compensation to victims. I referred to 3 of them. There are more. And we'll track down the one that just did it recently. New Jersey comes to mind, but may not be New Jersey. But the diocese could do this voluntarily. We're opening up this window because the diocese won't. So the diocese could do the right thing. It doesn't have to be forced to do it. But like so many things that we've seen over, is why, you know, have things changed? Yes. But in some ways things haven't changed, if you know what I mean. Like taking responsibility, that hasn't really changed in some ways based on what I'm hearing from the diocese response and I've heard before and our experience in the investigation. I know somebody in the back over there on the left had a question. Yes.
High up in the report, it's stressed that Rhode Island is unique just because of its strong, high per capita Catholic population
Yes.
here. Can you talk a little bit about how that might have impacted, people coming forward? Did you find that was more helpful, or were people maybe a little bit more shy, just because of the strong Catholic population in such a small state? And how do you think this report's going to land in Rhode Island?
Well, it's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go home and talk to Mom and Dad tonight and see what their reaction was, if they were able to listen today. I don't know. But you know, when we go into this, it didn't impact the investigation. So we had no difficulty in terms of speaking to survivors and being able, you know, the smart team here. It's really it's a really good group of lawyers here, able to figure this out, put it together for you. So there were no challenges to the investigation because we are an overwhelmingly Catholic state. Where it'll land, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I think that, I don't know. I can only say that I'm proud of the product. I'm proud of the work. The team did a great job here. And I'm really proud of them and the work that they did, and the state police. Really proud of what they did.
Do you believe that the diocese is still getting credible reports? Are they turning those over?
Yeah, I believe to the extent it's happening, we would get them. We haven't gotten any in recent memory, but I have no doubt that we would get them. I think that's a function of the state police, meaning Kevin O'Brien and now Bob Kramer. I mean, they get it. They get it. So we would get those complaints now.
You referenced some recommendations for them, but would or should the message to the public be like, if you have an allegation, go to law enforcement, and not to the
yes,
diocese?
of course, yes, yeah. I think Brian, one of the questions is always come to us, and there's a hotline on the last slide. If I go to it, that actually. It's there. Good, thanks. So the public is welcome to call us, right? So for historical things, but they should call us about everything, current and historical. But it's unlikely, unless we update our report, that we would, which we could and might, that we in the first instance would do the investigation. We could, but we think the diocese should do it.
And so the 20 that you added to the list, did that just come from their own documents, or was that in
Yeah.
speaking to survivors and getting more?
For the most part, from their own documents, including this Father McCraw that Sean spotted in a note in another file that prompted us to ask, well, give us Father McCraw's files, because we didn't ask for every priest. We asked for records that pertain to allegations of abuse, right? A lot of records down there. I believe they're mostly in Cranston, aren't they? Is that where the record center is?
Mostly in the cloud.
Oh, in the cloud now? Well, our records are now in the cloud, yes. Yes, for certain. Other questions? Yes.
Two questions.
Oh,
One,
go ahead. Can I take this young lady here first, and then we'll come back to you?
Your point about the diocese being
Yep.
reluctant to offer financial compensation.
Yeah.
Is it your opinion that they're more worried about the money or about having millions of dollars put out there earmarked towards victims that would change their reputation?
I don't know, but I think the reputation is what it is. This it's it's kind of hard to read this and not come away with the story. So the reputation now is what the reputation is, and it's not hard to do the right thing. And I think they should just do the right thing. They have an opportunity, right? It's a new bishop. I haven't met the bishop yet. I hope I'll have that opportunity. I've told people in other industry this. As a lawyer, at some point you have to stop listening to the lawyers. The lawyers are always going to tell you, be careful, don't admit anything, don't take responsibility. Lawyers are by definition risk averse. But when you're leading something, sometimes you have to say, stop lawyering. And it's a different decision tree. And I've come to recognize that here, and I've in healthcare, for example, where the lawyers are kind of driving, and you can feel it. The lawyers are or frankly, in a Brown shooting, the lawyers are not my lawyers. Other lawyers are driving responses. No, that's not what's needed in the moment. What's needed in the moment is not the lawyers, and that's coming from the lawyers, Tim. That's coming from the lawyers. That's not coming from this bishop, from what I can tell. This bishop, respectfully, has an opportunity here. And as a Rhode Islander, I hope, even though I'm not a Catholic any longer, I hope that he takes it.
you've suggested that there's something healthy for society about getting the whole story out thoroughly, comprehensively, clearly.
Yeah.
Couple of questions. Your colleague in Massachusetts has done a similar report. Would you encourage, but they've not made it public. Would you encourage them to do so?
I would. I don't know what particular laws or risks there would be in making it public, I don't want to speak for Andrea Campbell, who I have tremendous respect for. But I do think, this is, and I don't know if she used a grand jury and that's what's driving part of that, but to me now, this is the constant thing that I have to go through a lot. Public corruption matters, excessive use of force matters, this matter. You have to decide whether you use a grand jury or not, and that is a very difficult decision to make when you're starting an investigation, because you don't know where it's going to lead you, right? And I would love to avoid that by the legislation I've already referenced.
Second question.
Yeah.
You've said you were an altar boy.
I was.
You just said you're no longer a Catholic.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with this story and the church's handling of this issue?
No. if I'm, try to be candid with you, my wife is an Episcopalian, and when we got married, she felt strongly about raising her children in the Episcopal Church, and so I went from St. Mark to St. Matthew's, and it took a while for my mother to talk to me and my aunt to talk to me about it there. Really, my aunt said to me, my Aunt Gertrude said, "How did you get roped into that one?" And she's standing right over there, so that's how it happened. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Two questions. You've got a lot of recommendations. What is the most important thing that can come out of this report? What would make the biggest difference in your life?
Oh, I think for survivors, and that's where my thinking always begins, is to establish those compensation programs and drop the opposition to this legislation. And if the diocese wanted a moment in time, they should come out and support it. Pull back the lobbyist.
Annie's bill, Annie's law?
Yeah. Pull back the lobbyist and
Yeah.
send him home.
Yeah. And you mentioned Rep. McEntee, and I know you expected, the report to come out months ago.
I did.
What took so long?
Honestly, editing and polishing and making sure we were right. I want to give credit to this team. Like, we went through this report, right, guys? Line by line. Are we right? Can we say this? Is this word choice the right word choice? Are we being fair? So this is why, Tim, I kind of bristle a little bit at that question, because these guys we asked our civil division to take a look too, and we had a bunch of people out there who helped proofread this for us, because we wanted to make sure we didn't have any typos, and I hope we don't have any. But it just took a lot of time to make sure we were right and we were being fair. And part of it was on me. I took a lot of time last spring to go through it personally and make edits. I did it again in October. So we wanted, look, when you're leaving office, you know that there are going to be certain things that when you think about what you did here and what they think about what they did here, the people will remember you did it, good or bad, right? And so this is going to live on, notwithstanding what the diocese says is history. This is not going to be history. This is going to live on. And I wanted it to be a product that would reflect the level of ability in this office, which means outstanding lawyering, and I believe that it does that.
Did the diocese do anything to try to prevent its release?
No. I think the other thing too is, if you look at this group, right, they're all doing other things. That was the other challenge. So Dee obviously is running the whole operation effectively. Pat is our head of policy. Andrea runs our Medicaid fraud unit. Andrea. It's this Massachusetts thing I keep doing. Andrea runs our Medicaid fraud unit, and then Sean is in our appellate unit. So part of what took a lot of time was people juggling other responsibilities and not having the ability to put people on it. And Penelope, who's not here, where is she now? She was in our district. Is she back there? She's in courtroom. Hi, stand for us. Thank you. She's one of our young lawyers who's running around in court all the time. So younger lawyers, and so a lot of people were juggling other things. That was a big part of it. This office can be very reactive, Ed, as you've covered it for a long time, and so there are lots of things that push a 275-page document off your plate. Brown, for example, I don't know if I would have read it then, edited it then, but the team, Steve's got a million things to do. It's responding, Dee's responding, and so that's a lot of it. I mean, you've got something that in the scope of what we do here can wait, and so it waits, and it's unfortunate, but it's just the reality.
Jim,
Yeah, Tim.
My last question. The report said 250,000 supporting records that I think Dee says are in the cloud, in a server somewhere. So if a member of the public or the press wanted to review those records, to look at something more closely, do you see them as a public record subject to disclosure?
My view is I would like to make them public. It's going to be a challenge to do that, given the amount of records there are.
Yeah, not all 250,000.
But yeah, look, sure, but if you ask for a particular record, yeah, we would give it to you. Yeah. Kathleen, I'll come back. I'm not going to leave, but I'll come back to you. Yes, Chris.
What feedback did the diocese at all provide during at least its final review of this report before it came out?
They wanted more time than we gave them. But I was keenly aware, and it was a fair request, and we did give them an additional 10 business days. So they had a total of 20 business days to review it. I mean, I read it, the last version, in 3 days, so it, with interruptions, so it's long, but it's doable. That's what you got lawyers for, but, then that, as I said, may be part of the problem, but, so, they weren't pleased by it, but, it is what it is.
So they didn't try to bring any changes for the final draft?
No, they didn't, and had they, obviously, if we had said something that was flat out wrong, I certainly would have made the edit, but in terms of characterization, absent strong persuasion, I wouldn't have made those changes. Yes, hi.
Hello from the ground. I'm
Hi.
Leah from the AP.
Hi.
The church historically in Rhode Island and in New England was more than an institution, but part of the infrastructure of people's daily lives.
Mhm.
And this isn't really a scientific question, but I'm curious just anecdotally what you've seen and heard in the 25 years since the Spotlight report came out. How has this changed the infrastructure of people in Rhode Island's daily lives?
It's a great question. I don't know the answer. And I don't know, Rhode Island's really insular. And if you're covering for the AP, you may not be from here. Are you?
I'm from New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, yeah.
Another small
Rhode
state,
Island's really
but-
insular. And I don't know to the extent to which something happens in Massachusetts. I'm sure people hear about it. But that's why I thought it was really important to do the report, to put it all together in one place. And the Spotlight team, I thought, obviously did a fantastic job with the Diocese of Archdiocese of Boston and drove significant change there. But I don't know how it changed Rhode Islanders' lives. I really don't. And I don't know to the extent that this will. But I don't think what happened in Boston really did. But I could be wrong.
What
You're
was the
welcome.
biggest surprise for you in this report? And did anything really stand out to you and has been seared into your consciousness?
Yeah, I think what I was just not aware of the scope of the diocese poor response in terms of transfers. To me, it's the transfers that really get you, because every time you transfer a priest that you know is a threat to children and don't do anything in response, you're endangering other children, and I just don't know how you make that decision. I can't get my head around it. So I knew that happened. I mean, we all kind of know that anecdotally, but I don't think, at least I hadn't seen the scope of it until this was all put together. Tribute to the team for being able to tell the story in this way. It wasn't easy for them. Yes.
Just had one more question.
Okay.
Going forward, you're saying, or are you suggesting that the bishop and lawmakers who will be considering the pending legislation stop listening to legal counsel and follow their moral compass?
I do. That's exactly what I mean, Margie. Thanks for capturing it that way. Thanks. Anyone else? Hi.
So, reading the appendix, it's very clear that there are priests who were sent to places like New Mexico, which was, like, I reported in New Mexico. I'm very familiar with Temez Springs and the servants of the Paracletes. Could you talk a little bit about sort of where you can see the gaps and you don't have a record of someone being abused, but a priest is being sent to somewhere where abusive priests are being sent to when they abuse?
Yeah. So I think that's why, we're pretty clear in the report that there's a lot of allegations in there. 75 priests, 300 complainants, or 300 complaints, but we know that we didn't get it all for exactly that reason. And we know that there were some files that apparently did not survive too. So, but I think that there's enough in there that tells the story, and I hope brings to survivors a sense of justice in some way, but you'd have to ask them. Yes, sir.
A very interesting result from this is your finding that so few cases were referred to the Vatican that, in your judgment, should have been.
Yeah.
In 2002, every diocese in the country filled out questionnaires that were summarized, as you know, in the John Jay report.
Yeah.
And in subsequent years, those surveys continued to be filled out for yearly updates. Did you get those surveys, and were you able to assess how well those
Yeah.
reports were going?
Yeah, we viewed, it's in the report, and what we viewed the overall auditing is what, the way it's described, or was described to us, what we took from the records, is not overly robust. And it could be stronger. And I think, and you do see this disparity across the country in the ways dioceses respond. And I think maybe the council, again, what do I know, but about how the church operates internally, maybe the Council of Bishops just needs to get everybody to the same place. And not make it optional to do the right thing, to bring the force of collective morality to bear. Because some dioceses, from what I can tell from distance, certainly in terms of compensating survivors, appear to be doing the right thing and taking ownership. And I think that's what needs to happen here. Yes, is there anybody else other than Kathy has a question? Because if not, I'll give you a shot, and then, do you have one? Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Just understanding this, the length of time, the MOU was in 2019.
16.
I'm sorry.
With Attorney General Kilmartin, mine,
No, yours.
2019,
Yours
yes.
to get the documents.
Yes.
How, did you get all the documents in one
No.
dump at some point, or how, the real question is, how recent are they in terms of the records held by the diocese on complaints and what they did with them?
Yeah.
Do they go right up into 2026?
Yeah, I think they do. Let me
or
ask the
they
team,
end at
how,
some point?
We got them over there, Ted.
so all the way up through the last year?
Okay.
Anybody else? I'm sorry for the long, I'm gonna get crushed by Ian Donison as he hates long press conferences.